Nostril piercings, studs versus rings. Coming up next on Pros and Cons by a Piercer, episode number 45. So stick around. For those that are new to the channel, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I'm the owner and operator of the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, located here in not-so-sunny Des Moines, Iowa, inside the Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So, when I talk to you about these things, I'm talking to you at a level of expertise as someone who has pierced thousands upon thousands of nostrils with rings and with stud-style jewelry. So, before we get too far into this, I want to kind of definitely define what I consider stud jewelry and what I consider ring jewelry. With stud jewelry, there's basically labre studs, barbells, nostril screws, L-bins. That's the primary four that I would suggest initially for a piercing. Jewelry I would not suggest putting a fresh piercing include nostril bones. Actually, I don't like them at all, and I don't suggest wearing them at all. Nostril pins. They're generally too short and they constantly fall out. The third type being anything that looks like they may have bought it at a kiosk at a mall and it's supposed to be for ear piercing. When I'm talking about rings, I'm talking about circular jewelry, rings, catty bead rings, seamless rings, fixed bead rings, circular barbells, anything that goes in a circle. Woohoo! With that out of the way and that nonsense taken care of, let's work on to how I'm going to judge them. I'm basically going to give you 10 rounds or 10 points or topics that will decide which is going to be best for you when you initially get a nostril piercing. They're going to include the look of the piercing, how secure the piercing is, the profile of the piercing, the amount of room that it takes up, swelling, how the jewelry is affected by that and how it works with swelling, movement, ease of use, and variety. The cost, the amount of contact that jewelry is going to have, and the final one, how prone is it to lead to migration, rejection, or other problems? So let's move on to the battle. The pros, the cons, the 10 rounds of whatever. Start with number one, the look. The ring has that classic look. It's been around forever. It has been probably the primary way that we've pierced nostrils, at least in modern times, for roughly the first 15 years or so of body piercing. It was generally kind of considered kind of the norm. If you got a nostril piercing, you got rings. However, that kind of went out of vogue, and there's a couple of different reasons, and we'll get more and more into that as we go along. With stud jewelry, it tends to be more elegant. It tends to be more understated. It's not as noticeable. It's something that might work well if you work in a profession where, yeah, piercings are allowed, but they don't want something so big that everybody that walks in the door is going to notice it. On this one, I'm going to give it a tie. So in round one, we have a tie, 1-1 all. That brings us on to round number two, security. With rings, because generally they have a closure and they are completely closed, they're very durable, they're very difficult in some cases to remove. For that reason, they are designed to be in the body for a long period of time. They are very secure. It's really unusual that I will have somebody call me and say, hey, my fixed bead ring or my seamless ring or my catty bead ring fell out of my nostril piercing. That's different with studs. Labre studs, somewhat secure, but they have their own issues. They can always come unscrewed. The ends can pop off of the threadless type. They have problems. Nostril screws, L-bins, and etc. rely on that wire that's sitting on the inside of your nose to keep them from falling out. And for that reason, this one is going to go to rings, making it rings 2, studs 1. So that brings us on to round number 3, profile. Profile is the amount of room that it kind of takes up in the piercing. Of course, rings are bigger. They have to be bigger. They have to be as flat as possible to allow that piercing to heal as flat as possible. And they also have to wrap comfortably around the bottom of your nostril. So they're going to be bigger. They're going to have a higher profile. They're going to be easier to notice. Studs, basically, generally all you see is the end, whatever's visible on the outside of the piercing. So this one goes to studs. Tying it up again, 2-all. Now it's on for round number 4, swelling. Rings, they generally give you a little extra room. Depending on the size of the jewelry, it can swell a little bit beyond that comfort level and not have tremendous issues. However, with stud jewelry, you're pretty much stuck with whatever the length is. If it's too long or too short, too long, going to get in contact with things more often. Too short, and it's going to impact and cause other issues. Usually when we pierce, especially with nostril screws in adjustable jewelry, we'll pierce with something that's a little bit too long for that initial piercing to allow for extra room for swelling. Once it heals, they can be adjusted and tightened so they're more secure. With this one, I'm going to have to give it to rings, bringing up the total score to 3-2. Round goes to rings. Now let's move on to round number 5. Movement. How much does the jewelry move during the healing process, and how can that cause issues? With this one, of course, rings move a lot more. Not only can they move back and forth like this, they can also move through the piercing back and forth, giving it kind of a lot more movement. Plus, with the higher profile, things are going to come in contact with it more often, so it's more likely to move. With studs, you just basically, other than sliding back and forth, they're not going to see a lot of spinning of the jewelry or rotating of the jewelry during the healing process unless you physically do it, which you shouldn't. Don't do that. The reason why movement's important during the healing process is the more movement you have, the longer your healing period's going to be, the more likely you already have infection or other problem, and a whole host of other issues can come about from over movement or over stress on the piercing. Abuse, basically, in essence. So with this one, it definitely goes to studs. And that ties it up again to 3-3. As we move into round number 6, ease of use. This one, it's kind of a toss-up. With rings, often, especially with captive bead rings, it does take a level of expertise and skill to learn how to change them. Also, even with the seamless or the fixed bead rings or beaded rings, you still have to bend them, and you have to be able to do that comfortably, and oftentimes it's not the easiest place to grip that. With studs, especially Libre studs, you are going to require tools to remove and replace the jewelry unless you can magically find that hole on the inside of your nostril and then can either get the jewelry or push the stud in if it's threadless or screw it on and thread it on if it's threaded. They are not fun, even for me to do with tools. Taking them out can be just equally as difficult. Sometimes you need hemostats or something to grip onto the jewelry. If you kind of try to imagine trying to stick your index and your thumb up inside your nostril and grab some tiny little thing, you get the idea that these are not easy to change. Now, nostril screws and L-bends are fairly easy to remove because basically you turn it and twist or turn and just pull out. The problem is sometimes they're very difficult to guide going in, especially nostril screws, which have that curvature on the inside. Sometimes it's difficult to find that hole on the inside and get it in. So on this one, I'm giving it a tie. After 6 rounds, the score is 4-4. As we move into round number 7, variety. There's a huge variety of both rings and studs out there in different ends that you can get. I think with this one, I can't really say one is more special than the other one. With stud jewelry, of course, you're a little bit limited from the standpoint of you're just limited to whatever that stud is on the end. You can't really, add anything extra to it. I guess you could, but I really wouldn't advise it. So on this one, it's a tie. Round number 7 goes to a draw, bringing the total up to 5-5 as we move into round number 8. Cost. This one, it's really close. It's really, really close. Rings tend to be a little cheaper to manufacture, so thus the cost is a little bit less. With Libre studs, either the threaded or non-threaded, they tend to cost more because there's more parts involved and there's more time involved in manufacturing them. The thing with nostril screws and L-bends is there's really a limited amount of additional work. The price difference is very fractional in slight between what you would pay for a ring and what you would pay generally for nostril screws or L-bends. However, I'm going to give this one to rings. And after 8 rounds, the score is ring 6, studs 5. As we move into round number 9, contact. This is the amount of contact the piercing gets or jewelry is going to get during the healing process. This one we've already kind of talked about a little bit because rings have a higher profile and are kind of sticking more outward. They're going to get a great deal more contact with bedding, clothing, towels, hands, mouths, whatever comes near it. Studs, flat to the body. Usually the only thing protruding is that stud end. It's going to have limited or no contact whatsoever unless you physically bop the side of your nose, which I don't suggest doing while you're healing a piercing. No bopping. No bopping. Especially at the sock hop. No one understands that joke. I don't think anyone will understand that joke. So, after 9 rounds, the score is a draw, 6-all. As we go into round number 10, the very last one, which piece of jewelry is going to be more likely to lead to migration, rejection, or other issues? On this one, of course, rings, more movement, more contact, more possibilities of trauma to the piercing, thus, more prone to having problems. Though migration and rejection would be extremely rare in a nostril piercing, it is, I guess, technically possible. However, that movement, bumping, etc., will increase the likelihood of bumps, infection, and other issues during the healing process. So on this one, rings lose. Studs, you may have a little bit of sliding back and forth. It's not going to be readily caught as often. The only thing you really need to be concerned about is making sure that when you wash your face, drying off when you get out of the shower, and changing clothing, that you don't catch them, especially with nostril screws and L-bends, because they can fall out and land in whatever disgusting thing you have near you. So, that's it. After 10 rounds, the winner is Studs. Sneaking ahead by winning the last round, round 10, bringing the score to ring 6, stud 7. Well, that's all I've got to say today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it, because we like it when you like it. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Hit that notification bell. We do post videos with a basis kind of focus on education, on tattooing and body piercing, roughly about 4 to 5 a week, right here on this very channel. So hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of them. If you like, hey, it's Christmas time. It may not be by the time you watch this, but right now it's Christmas time. If you would like to get something special for somebody on your list that has kind of stint towards modification of the body, like piercing, tattooing, that sort of thing, check out our merch store. We have various different designs, t-shirts, tote bags, coffee mugs, and leggings. A few other things, I think. Oh, stickers. A lot of stickers on there. At least 2 or 3, maybe 4. I don't know. I'd have to count them, and I haven't had time to count them. Till next time, though, I hope all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care of yourself. Keep well. Try to go out and exercise and burn off all those calories from Thanksgiving.